Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for being here this morning. I want to thank my colleagues in the nursing department who helped put this presentation together. They did a really great job. We have a lot of ground to cover, so let's jump right in. This morning's presentation is to help us all understand youth violence. Our objective with this session is to help you identify types of violence that you may encounter, what causes these acts to occur, whom it impacts, warning signs to look for, and prevention strategies. The biggest takeaway this morning is that youth violence is preventable. It's our job as faculty in our school to be vigilant in the identification and prevention of violence for students at risk. So what is youth violence? The Research Institute of Children's Hospital of Philadelphia defines youth violence as intentional use of physical force or power over another individual. These acts can be threats or actual acts of violence. They can be against one single person or a group of people, can result in physical or emotional harm, and we're concerned typically students ages 10 to 24. Children can play any role in youth violence. They may be the perpetrator, the victim, or a witness. Regardless of the role the child plays, these incidents can severely impact them throughout their lives. Acts of violence can affect not only the student, but also their family and their community. Violence at any age can have traumatic effects. It can reshape their entire future, propagating violence later in life if not recognized and intervened upon appropriately. Depending on the type of incident, the student could sustain physical injuries or even death. So looking at the facts on youth violence. Types of violence to familiarize yourself with are listed below. Bullying can be physical harm done to another student, relational or cyber in nature. Bullying is a very complex topic. We will discuss this in further detail on the next slide. Sex trafficking is a public health crisis. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, sex trafficking refers to the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, obtaining, patronizing, or soliciting of a minor for the purposes of a commercial sex act. No child is immune to becoming a victim of sex trafficking, regardless of their age, race, socioeconomic status, or physical location in the country. Dating violence, also known as intimate partner violence, can be emotional or physical in nature. This can be between couples of opposite or same gender, and men can also be victims of abuse and will typically not self-report because of societal pressures or embarrassment. We have to keep our eyes peeled for young men who may be victims of intimate partner violence. Gun violence, domestic violence and child abuse can occur between a child and their parent or caregiver, or solely between the parents themselves. Regardless of who the violence is between, the student's well-being can be in grave danger, and any allegations should be taken extremely seriously and reported as such. Firearm-related injury and death is a huge public health problem. According to a 2012 study by the National Center for Injury Prevention and Control, firearm-related deaths are one of the top 3 causes of death among American youth. School shootings typically involve a student in crisis who may be experiencing suicidal thoughts, despair, or anger. They also have typically easy access to guns. These events are typically preceded preceded by a subtle warning sign that, if we are able to recognize, can prevent these tragedies. The Federal Commission on School Safety holds meetings to discuss ways to make schools safer, and you can view the meetings online by visiting their website. And finally, self-harm and suicide. In 2011, more than 5,000 young people under the age of 25 committed suicide, according to the CDC's fatal injury report, 2,000 of which were under the age of 19. So it's really affecting our young people. Again, these events also are usually preceded by subtle warning signs. So the better we know our students, the better we're able to identify those warning signs and prevent suicide attempts or self-harm. Bullying. There are 3 types that we're going to discuss this morning. Physical bullying is most common among boys. It's a form of dominance. It also often involves hitting, kicking, or physical threats. Relational bullying is most common among girls and typically involves rumors or excluding other students from their groups or activities. Cyberbullying happens via social media or email, on phones or computers. It can be very difficult to identify the bully as they can be well hidden or anonymous over the internet. This form of bullying can spread content very quickly and to a very large number of people. So working in a school, what you should know. It's important to be familiar with the warning signs of potential violence. We will discuss them further on the next few slides. We want to promote a safe school environment. That is our utmost goal. Becoming familiar with our school board policies. They are located in the 5,000 section of your manual. They're also on our website that you can view on your own time. And speak up. Know your chain of command and to whom you report. And review your emergency action plans and evacuation procedures. Warning signs to look for. Typically students who are at risk for violence will most likely be going through some troubling emotional issues, exhibit loss of temper, frequent fighting, feelings of persecution, lack of empathy, feelings of isolation or rejection. They may have discipline issues, destroy property, have problems with authority figures. Remember that not all adolescents exhibit the same signs or share the same risk factors that could lead to violence. Continuing along the same lines, these children will have bullying type behaviors or be the victims of bullying. They may try to manipulate or control those around them. They may exhibit violent or aggressive behaviors, such as hurting animals, teasing and taunting their classmates, threatening to hurt themselves or others. They may have writing assignments that turn violent, or draw things that are extremely violent, or have a history of major mental illness. It's often said in the media that an individual who commits a violent act just snapped. Unfortunately, that's not typically the case. Violent acts committed by students typically have behavioral warning signs prior to that incident. We need to be vigilant. These students might typically show fascination with weapons, talk about how they have access to weapons. They may be affiliated with a gang. They may have a lack of interest in school or poor academic performance or attendance. They may also typically have some risky behaviors. For our older children, drunk driving, speeding, high-risk sexual behavior, social withdrawal, substance abuse can all be signs of impending violence. Having knowledge and awareness of some of the common warning signs enables us, as well as parents and other people in our community, to acknowledge behavioral changes that require intervention. Listed are just a few of the vast numbers of risk factors. So we need to know our students so that we see these subtle changes. Know the Signs is a website developed after the unfortunate events at Sandy Hook. They are a downloadable PDF. The guide is 6 pages long and provides statistics and details, additional warning signs of youth who potentially could go on to harm themselves or others. This guide is a great reference that can be printed out and kept on hand to share with other teachers or members of the community, and educate ourselves on what to look for. The link is provided for anyone that would like to print this out or investigate it further. So, causes of youth violence in youth. Language barriers. Use of slang or abbreviations on social media can cause misunderstandings that can escalate into violence. Young people engaged in drug abuse can experience abrupt changes to their behavior while under the influence that could facilitate violence as they interact with their peers. Cultural differences in groups living in close proximity can at times, these groups can disagree on issues affecting their shared community that can lead to violence. Economic instability can lead students or their families to become homeless, to live in dangerous neighborhoods, experience food instability, and all of these things can lead to people making poor decisions, becoming involved in criminal activities to make ends meet. So that puts them at a high risk for violence. Some children have personality traits that make them difficult to deal with or socialize with their peers. They may come from a troubled home environment, and all these things can predispose them to violence. Prevention of violence. Prevention is key. Early identification of students who are experiencing bullying or violence at home, etc., need intervention as early as possible to be able to avoid them escalating to violence. Promoting a safe school environment, engaging social activities. These things will help foster confidence in our students and a feeling of community. By developing a good rapport with your students, they will feel safe and supported. They are more likely to confide their problems with us, in which case we are able to intervene and prevent future violence. Young people really appreciate an environment where they can air their views and experiences without fearing judgment. This gives us a chance to provide intervention and guidance to prevent escalation of their problems. Celebrating diversity is a critical aspect of prevention. Youth that feel like they're equal to their peers will have less interpersonal issues and subsequently less incidences of violence. Guidance and counseling services keep youth on the right path and motivated to make good choices. Collaboration with relevant stakeholders contributes to effective communication between parents, the school system, and the community. And with everyone working together, we are able to monitor these students and to provide them with necessary services and support to prevent violence. So if we come upon a student who is having issues at home, is suspected of violent behavior, or is witnessed to have violent behavior, there's a few things we're able to do to intervene. We have a STRIVE program here. This program includes a social worker from the New Jersey Health Department, a school counselor, our resource officer, and our school psychologist. The program meets after school on Mondays and Thursdays. and focuses on these students that are referred to the program with behavioral issues, problems at home, etc., and provides them with a safe space to work through their trauma or anger in a constructive environment through games, team building activities, and some other programs. This is one of the most successful programs we have implemented and has reduced our incidence of violence. Cut it by half. So it's been quite successful. So students with behavioral issues or are at risk for violence should be referred to this program. Students can also, if you witness violence among students, they should be immediately referred to a resource officer. Students experiencing violence at home should be referred to the New Jersey Department of Child and Families. And students suspected of self-injury or suicidal thoughts should be referred to the nursing office for crisis intervention. There is a child adolescent psych unit at Jefferson Hospital in Cherry Hill where these students can receive immediate evaluation by a psychiatrist for intervention. Listed on this slide are several different resources that we can use to educate ourselves further on gang violence, bullying, violence prevention, programs we could possibly implement in addition to our STRIVE program to prevent violence. So you can familiarize yourselves with these provided with these websites. In conclusion today, youth violence is absolutely preventable. Early identification of children who are at risk, offering support to families, and creating an environment that provides healthy development, involving families of preschool-age children and providing education, providing good role models and positive behaviors. These are all things that we can do to make sure that our children come to school and are safe, feel supported, and are able to learn in a stress-free, violence-free environment. So we've listed also some pamphlets. If you visit these websites listed on the slide, they have some really great tools that can assist you in your own classrooms. So feel free to familiarize yourselves with these. They do have a lot of really great resources. So I want to thank everyone for their attention today. I hope you've enjoyed our presentation, and we'll use the information provided to keep all of our students and faculty safe. Again, I want to thank the nursing office and our principal and administration, and say thank you to everyone.